How you doing? This is the Flow Road Podcast, and I am Edgar OtraVez. This episode will be titled Pandemics Make You Do Weird Stuff. Not my cousin Dan and I are going to be going through all the weird things you do during a pandemic that you never thought you would do. And in general, just weird stuff that we've noticed during this pandemic. Don't worry, we don't really talk about politics at all. We don't really usually care to do that. There's much better avenues for that than us two idiots. As always, you can head on over to theflowroadpodcast.com and check out the rest of our content and shop at our store. We are also on Instagram as The Flow Road. You can go there, check us out, see what we're up to. All right, strap in now. Here we go. Welcome to another episode of the Flow Road Podcast. This is Edgar OtraVez. And today, my co-host, Mr. Not My Cousin Dan.
Heyo. It's just the two of us today. We haven't done this in a while.
Just the two of us.
We can make it if we try. Yeah, that was beautiful.
Oh, yes.
I got the pipes.
There you go. Don't worry. If it sounds weird, I'll take care of it in post. And today, our topic is... What was our topic again? It was the weird shit we do during pandemic.
Pandemics make you do weird shit.
Exactly.
And I'm hoping this is the kind of thing that a lot of people can identify with. Because it's not just necessarily like you go out and you start being crazy. Like that does happen, right? Like there have been a few like go out there, well, not go out. You don't go out anywhere, but you just start going a little batshit, but it's mainly like the little things.
Yeah,
the little things that change because now all of a sudden all you have to focus on is what's going on in your house. Oh. What's happening between you and the walls. That's all you have to focus on, and it changes things.
You know, I actually got mirrors. There's these extra little exit mirrors that I was supposed to put someplace else in the house, and then we decided not to, and so now there's no place for these mirrors, and I can't return them. So because I took them out of the box, and I'm like, you know. So now they're next to my desk out for work. And every now and then I look over to the fucking mirrors and I'm doing something stupid. And I'm like, is this how I behave in the office? You know, do people see me doing this kind of stuff, or is this new behavior? You know, because I don't remember doing some of the things I do. It's
probably new behavior because now you're in a different place, man. Mm-hmm. I would like to think it's new behavior, although... Yeah, I've had the same thing where it's like I'll see myself making a face, or I don't know about you, the constant WebEx, right? Constant being on video conferences, constantly seeing yourself.
Yes.
Has like I have become hyper aware of like what my facial expressions look like. And am I showing too much emotion? Is this how I always am? You know, and it drives me crazy.
You know, this the little things I've been doing is I've been giving people feedback when I feel they need it in meetings and stuff. I will nod my head viciously,
right?
But I like on purpose so they know they can keep going or that I agree with them. But
like I've gotten a lot more demonstrative.
Yeah. like we're doing a stage play or something, you know? Like it's
right. Yeah. Yeah. A lot more demonstrative because like you have to telegraph everything because, you know, you're not right in front of them. And so all of those like body language cues that you're used to picking up on in an actual face-to-face meeting. Now you have to, I don't know what you're talking about. You feel like you have to amplify it, you know?
Yes. I'm like a step away from like, doing some of the old motion picture movies, like silent stuff where they're like,
Yeah.
where,
Yeah,
everything was black and white. And then like, I'm putting on black makeup around my eyes so people can see me, it's just, it's just that it's just gotten that kind of weird. And then the other thing I've done in the opposite direction is if I'm disagreeing and I can't show it, I try real hard not to demonstrate any kind of
right
negative feedback.
That's what I was talking about with like hyper aware of my facial expressions.
Mm-hmm.
Hyper aware because I've always kind of been like, I wear my heart on my sleeve. Like if I'm displeased, people know it.
Yeah.
It's there in my body language if I'm not saying anything, which normally I'm too stupid to keep my mouth shut. But
same here.
But now that it's like when you've got that camera on, there's always here's what you look like little box. And so like two things have happened. I've gotten hyper aware of my own facial expressions and trying to while at the same time, like amplifying my agreement, my nods and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Like at the same time, really being super conscious about when I am displeased, like trying to keep a poker face.
Yes.
And I've gotten really vigilant with the mute button, and the turn the camera off button. Like really vigilant about stuff like that, especially because it's like people, the boy will walk into the room or the cat starts hopping up around stuff or whatever's going on,
Dude, I'm sure it's happened to everybody, but there's always a meeting where like, the shirtless dad walks in with the baby,
Yeah.
And we're having like a huge meeting and it's just like, like I'm super distracted now.
Or like at the outset when it first started and all these platforms, they like, some of them didn't have the blur background feature or the virtual backgrounds where you could change what's behind you and stuff. And so like that stuff would happen a lot more frequently. And like now, it didn't take them long to be like, okay, you can have the virtual background, you can blur the background, you can do whatever you want. I guarantee you that came out of embarrassing moments that were unpredictable.
Oh man, there was one meeting, my son bursted into the office. He just swung the door open like crazy. And then he ran in and we have this funny relationship, me and my son. I think I've mentioned it before. I don't really like, for the most part, unless he's being disobedient or just, weird or I have to correct him. For the most part, I treat him like one of my friends, and I yell at him and I call him names and like weird, silly things. He's got this thing. He calls me poop butt, right? So he burst into the room and started yelling weird things at me and then called me poop butt. And I lost it, dude. Because I was talking at that moment. I was talking. The mic was hot. And I was talking. and he came in and he yelled at me and he's like, hey, you poop butt, blah, 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 blah. And then I'm like, get out of here. I'm in a meeting. I lost my cool, man. I lost my cool like so bad. And then he ran out laughing his little head off. And then I turned around and people were just shaking their head and some of them were giggling. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. My son came in here and just, that's what you heard. And he's like, we didn't hear anybody but you. All I wanted to do was die.
So all they saw was you have a temper tantrum.
Yes.
All they saw was in the middle of and so on this page, this script does this. Get out of here! I'm in a meeting.
Yes. That's exactly what happened. Didn't. First of all, they didn't see the little bastard, right? And second,
So he basically crop dusted you.
oh, dude, so
Is
bad.
what he did.
Totally, totally. Like he came in, nobody saw him, nobody heard him. I could have been making it up for all they know. You know, he was an imaginary friend.
No, at the outset, I'll be honest. It's a miracle that I didn't have more of that kind of thing happen, because one of the things that I do is I administer webinars, basically, right? And like many, like hundreds of people, and at the outset, I had to transition so many like face-to-face things into these kind of webinar events. And like, there were times where I'm sitting here and I'm running like 3 of them at the same time. And somehow, some way managed to be doing that without having like audio screw ups or the audio from one bleeding into another, or, somehow, some way managed to not have any massive embarrassing failures. And I'm very thankful for that, but there have been plenty of things where it's like I'm in a meeting and I don't realize until like halfway through the meeting that I'm sitting there in my bathrobe, my hair's not combed and the camera's on,
Yeah.
And like, it's one of those things where a lot of people were like that. So it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
But it's still like you get half an hour into a meeting where you're presenting, and then for the first time is you look at the little preview window and it's like, oh my God, really?
Yeah.
Really? Do I really have like a giant coffee stain? There's basically an entire waffle sitting on my belly. Like, really?
Dude, I had a meeting today, and I have several meetings, but I was drinking coffee today, and I've gotten to the point where it's like, I know I make a mess of myself. I'm wearing a white dress shirt. I'm going to put on this hoodie and zip it up. And for one of my meetings, I had this zip up hoodie on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then one of the people in the meeting, I later saw in another meeting, and he's like, "Did you change your shirt?" And I'm like, "No, I had a hoodie on so that I wouldn't make a mess of myself." I basically had a zip up bib.
Yeah, I was using my hoodie as a bib.
Yeah. But there was another time, like, I realized I had my closet door open in the office, and there's a bunch of, just nerd stuff in there, like training videotapes for like jujitsu, and then like a bunch of like little figurines and stuff. And so I was like, the bosses don't need to see this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I get up in the middle of the meeting, because, well, not in the middle, the meeting was starting, but some of the bosses were there.
Yeah.
I get up in my pajama pants and close the door. And then I come back, and when I turn around, I'm like, oh, they can see me in my pajama pants. And so I was like, oh, well, so I walk back to my desk and I sit down and I sit through the rest of the meeting. Halfway through the meeting, I realized, why do I keep leaving that door open? And I said, oh, wait a minute. I left that door open in another meeting, and I was wearing the same pants. That was like, so, and it was like the same week. It wasn't like,
yeah.
So I was like wearing the same pajama pants for 3 days, and people.
Yeah. Well, and that's definitely some of the this is how life is now.
Yeah.
I will wear the same clothes for 3 or 4 days. It doesn't mean I'm not bathing. It doesn't mean it just means I'm not doing anything. I'm not sweating, I'm not getting aside from food, and if I,
well, you don't have to do laundry is what we're trying to do. Yeah. But, like, one of the other things that I've noticed that I do, that's, this is so, I'm just, first of all, I'm already a germaphobe, right? I'm already kind of preoccupied with that thought. And I think some of it has to do with jujitsu, because,
sure,
you worry about staph, Staph is always something I'm worried about.
Impetigo or all that, those mat diseases.
All those things that you get from touching other people, right? And it's just like, so I'm constantly aware of that kind of stuff. And there's been a couple of times I've been in the supermarket, and this was pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
I'll brush arms, flesh to flesh with somebody else. And I'm like, and I'll go clean it down or wash it off or do something, right? Mind you, for fun, the activity that I partake in is all about rubbing on your body on other bodies, So it's just like.
So for fun, I want to reiterate that. Edgar, for fun, rubs bodies with other people. Well, that's what he does for fun.
In an attempt to pretend kill the other person. So sure. There's that part of it. Don't forget the pretend kill.
Yeah, that's not the interesting part of it, though.
That's the part that I find fun. But anyway, but yeah, so now that this pandemic is in my head, it's like it took that paranoia and amped it up to 100, right?
Yeah.
So like, I don't even want to be in the same aisle with other people, And I know it's stupid. I know that being that paranoid is just stupid. It's just ridiculous. And it's unmanageable too if you're going to be that crazy. And thankfully, I have children. And when you have children, that kind of crazy cannot exist because they are doing far worse shit than you ever did.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you also kind of have to be careful because that kind of crazy is going to rub off on them. They're going to model that behavior, And it's not necessarily a destructive behavior, but like it goes too far. It could be,
It can be. Yeah. And that's, you don't want your kids being spazzes, Like, you're I know I'm a spaz. Like, I don't want my kids to be a spaz,
Now, on the topic of kids, that's another, man, I don't think any of us realized how much value there was in going away for 10 to 12 hours a day. And yeah, it's not your personal space, but you're going away. And you have to deal with a whole different circus at the office, but those aren't people that you live with. Mm-hmm. And now all of a sudden we were all thrust into this. I'm here, they're here all the time, nonstop. It never ends,
Yeah.
And I mean, by a couple of weeks in, I don't know about you, but I was desperately trying to find stuff to be like, I need to find space. I need in May, last year in April, I cleaned my gutters 3 times a week, and I mean, partially, hey, that actually made sense because I have a lot of trees. There was a lot of crap in those gutters, and every week, until kind of summer came in, they were filling up pretty frequently. But I mean, 3 times a week, I was mowing my lawn twice a week, and it was just like, I need the hour and a half. I need it. I need the hour and a half where I'm not in the house, and we're not together. Mm-hmm. There's nowhere for me to go. I'm not going to go and hang out in the grocery store. I need space. That actually ended up overflowing and becoming like a fitness thing. Right. Because I'm still fat, right? Don't misunderstand anybody. I'm huge. I'm an enormous slob.
You're not that enormous.
But I had gotten to a point where the first time that I cleaned the gutters, I don't have a tall house, right? I have 1 level of gutters. And I had to climb the ladder a total of 6 times. And I literally thought my left knee was going to explode.
Wow.
Like I had to like slide down the ladder at one point because I couldn't put my weight on my knee. It hurt. And I mean, I have a relatively high threshold for pain.
Yeah.
I can't quantify that, but it's like I've broken bones before. I've had injuries before, and like they hurt, but not to the point where it's like I'm wailing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
This was like the kind of pain that I swear to God, I sincerely thought my knee was just going to explode. And I'm thinking about it. Like at that point, I'm like, I am not that old. I'm not nearly old enough for that kind of pain. There's only one explanation for it. I got to lose weight.
Yeah.
And so like it turned into, okay, here's another way I can go for bike rides. And I would go for like 2-3 hour bike rides,
Nice.
And then I started running and it was just, it all grew out of this. I need time that is mine. I need space that is mine, you know?
Yeah. You see the funny thing, and for me, or at least in this house, that part of it did kind of creep up, but not. It was a little different because with the kids, I mean, first of all, they're younger, so you don't have that teenage thing going on. Because I remember being a teenager and my dad hated me. We bumped heads a lot, and it was just kind of like, I don't understand why this dude hates me so much, but it was probably because I'm an asshole. You're a teenage asshole.
That's the thing, and when you're a teenager, it's impossible for you to see it. Mm-hmm. It's just part of being a teenager. You're self-absorbed.
Mm-hmm.
You don't understand. Like literally everything you do is causing problems.
Yeah.
It's just the nature of being a teenager.
Well,
everything you do, and especially with teenage boys, there is no learning curve. Like it's not steep, it's not flat, it just doesn't exist. I have told you to do this thing. Uh-huh. I have told you just simple things. I have told you 36 days in a row, please don't leave your dirty laundry on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
36 days in a row. And on the 37th day, I lost my temper and I yelled at you. And you don't understand why you're being yelled at. You don't understand why all of a sudden you're in trouble. Yeah. And that's just one example.
Uh-huh.
Hey, the dishes don't need to go on a 7-day layover in the sink. You can just put them straight into the dishwasher. There's no reason to put them in the sink. Yeah. They don't need to go there. Yeah. They don't even, we have new fancy dishwashers that you don't have to rinse them off. They don't have to go in the sink ever. But that's where they go, and then they stay there.
Yeah, and collect grossness.
As if the job is complete. They've gone in the sink. I don't have to do anything else with them. But there's a million things like that, and you have two.
I have two. I have two. And and so that kind of thing hasn't happened. They listen
yet.
They listen, and the boy is already showing some of what you're talking about. Some of what you're talking about. My daughter is not like that so much, but
not all boys are like this, but most are. Where your boy is going to go into a phase where any kind of effort for anything at all at any point is too much. Any kind of effort is too much. And he will, if he's anything like my boy, put so much, exponentially more time and energy into not doing whatever the thing is than it would have taken to just do the thing in the first place.
It's boundaries. It's defiance. It's him giving up, land. You know what I'm saying? It's just like he's giving up he's giving something up if he's listening. And as a man, because that's what he's becoming. He's becoming a man, and he's learning to be one, right? So as a man, he needs to figure out what battles are worth fighting, right? And he doesn't realize that putting the dishes in the dishwasher isn't a battle. It's
not. And
it's consideration. It's just like
I finally started putting it into this perspective. I've tried putting it into this perspective with him.
Mm-hmm.
Someday, you are not going to live here. Someday, you will live with roommates. It's going to happen. Mm-hmm. You're going to have a roommate. And if you've somehow managed to never have roommates and go directly into now you're living with a significant other, here's what's going to happen. You are going to leave your old Band-Aid sitting in the sink, and they aren't going to get mad at you. They're not going to scream at you. You're not going to have a fight about it. They're just going to murder you. And that seemed to have kind of sunk in somehow.
Yeah.
The whole idea of this isn't about me trying to control you. Mm. This is about me trying to prepare you for the expectations that the world has of you. Yes. And the expectations that the world has of you is that you will not leave garbage just sitting,
Yeah. Take care of your own mess. Mm-hmm. Right. But, and
the funny thing is these are new. Like, he hasn't always been this way. It's just now that he's a teenager. No. Everything that we have learned up until this point is gone.
It's what I'm telling you. He's trying. You are the man, all right? In this house, right? And eventually, he's going to take your place as the man in the house, not in your house, in his own house, right?
Yeah.
So he's going to. So in order for him to become the man, he must, in his head, somehow defeat the man, right? There's something he has to surpass. You are his opponent. You are the mountain that he must conquer. Every law you put down, he must prove whether it can stick, whether it makes sense. But this is, unfortunately, and I'm speaking just from my own experience growing up with my dad and all that. There were moments where I had shouting matches with my old man, right? And it was this kind of shit. It was like, and now looking back, which is, of course, looking back is hindsight is 20/20, right? But looking back, how foolish was I? The man pays the mortgage.
Yeah.
The man pays for the food that I'm eating, the clothes that I'm wearing, and I dare stand up in his living room and tell him that I'm going to watch TV the way I want to watch it. Like what arrogance, what stupidity, what
it's all about his world is extremely tiny. Mm-hmm. Your world when you were 16 years old was extremely tiny. You had no idea. You had no concept of scope.
No.
And that's exactly what's going on here. And I certainly, it's not like hell, it's not awful. It's a minor inconvenience, and it's a million minor inconveniences piled on top of each other, encountered every single day is what it is. And that's just being a parent, Yeah. One of the things that almost floors me, sometimes leaves me speechless, which, me, that's not an easy task. He has told me on more than one occasion that when he can tell that I'm getting worked up, or not just even then, like, he has told me on more than one occasion that deep down inside, he's like terrified of me. Right. And I can see maybe why, like, I've never been abusive, I've never hit him. I've never been physical with him. Like, there were maybe one or two times where it's like I grabbed him, like I put my hand on his shoulder to redirect him. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing, which is parenting, right? Not like
death grip,
punching, not like violence,
Yeah.
And but he has told me, and not terrified of me like I'm going to hurt him, just like an existential dread. He finds me frightening because I am a lot bigger than him, and I have kind of a growly voice, and I can be kind of gruff. And so he's like afraid that somehow he's going to get in some kind of horrifying trouble with me. And the reason that leaves me speechless is because if that's the case, then why don't you do things to not be why don't you do things to not get in trouble? Why don't you do things that aren't going to lead down that path? You know what I mean? Like, why doesn't the behavior change? If I'm so frightening, why do you do absolutely nothing?
You see, because you're not that frightening. Because you're not that frightening. If you were truly frightening, he would be doing things like you're saying preemptively to avoid these interactions, right? These negative interactions. But you're not. You only, have these bursts or whatever, if you want to even call them that. And that scares him. Those situations scare him. So him reacting to your one situation or your one burst is him trying to kind of shut you up. He's like, oh, you're scaring me now. It's like, so he doesn't want to have these negative interactions. So it's not, he doesn't want to alter his behavior. He wants you to alter your behavior.
Yeah.
That's what he wants. Because if he was truly afraid of you, he would do the goddamn thing.
Yeah.
He would just
would alter the behavior.
He would alter the behavior.
And like, I don't try to use fear as a motivator. I don't think fear is a good parenting strategy.
Well, if you were, you're very bad at it because it's not working.
Because it's clearly not working. Right. Yeah. So anyway.
But so one of the things I wanted to mention is, aside from, just having them all around all the time, I had a little bit of the kind of the opposite experience where it's just like, I was so grateful to be able to spend these years with them all the time. Like,
that's incredibly sweet.
Well,
how long did that last?
It's beginning to wear off. That is in the last month or so has begun to wear off. But that whole like first few months, I was loving coming down the stairs for coffee and being able to have a kung fu fight with my son in the middle of the fucking kitchen and have him hit me in the balls and then floor me and then me get up, pick myself up, grab my coffee and go back upstairs. Like,
oh, man, if I'd have known that you treasured that so much, I'd have been hitting you in the balls every day when we worked together. Well, I just walk in the morning, hey, Edgar, and just whip a Major League Baseball right at you.
Well, I just, it's more about the memories that we're making. I mean, I never had those memories with my dad. Like, I never got to kick my dad in the balls, but I'm doing that for my son. It's the sacrifices.
Treasured memories.
I'm sure he's going to grow up and he's going to have the same arrogant attitude that I had when I was 18. Where I was like, I can take my old man. I've done it before. I've floored him with my fucking kicks to the groin, But honestly, like that just those little moments that I know I'll never get back because they're so young. I feel in some ways lucky that I have a job that allows me to have this experience in this otherwise horrible fucking time.
Yeah.
But one of the things that did happen in my house was we got about 2 months in and my kids were beginning to be like, like a little sad. They were not, they were missing their friends. They were missing the interactions they were having in school. They were missing people. And that was when shit got kind of rough, like in the house, at least for me, because there was nothing I could do, right? Especially in the beginning of the pandemic. We're talking about 2 months in, because we were all still afraid, right?
Yeah.
Still kind of trying to figure out what's what and what's the truth. And so, like, especially in the beginning, the fluctuation was so crazy. I wondered if I was going to have a job, and nothing about anything coming from the place I was working at. I just was hearing people losing their jobs, right?
Yeah.
And thankfully, I lucked out, but there was so many people who didn't, and that my wife is so smart. She did a lot to kind of get the kids socialized and stuff during that time. So like when that happened, she instantly started thinking about how do I get the kids to play dates and kind of get them back into, being around people safely, etc. So we kind of unknowingly started a bubble, which is now the common phrase for this kind of stuff. And she's done a lot, and I can't take any credit for it. She's actually the kind of the architect for those kind of like interactions for the kids. But I mean, at that, when my kids told me they missed their friends, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
But like, but that thankfully has been better, and we're still at home, and but like half the kids are at home and half the kids are in the school, and that's where we're at now. But it's, by next year we should be fine at this point. Right. But
fingers crossed,
fingers crossed. But I mean, one of the things that I did, in the middle of the pandemic was I started a little challenge with my cousins, right? I told you this. I went and got a belt, and we ran until the end of September, to see who would get the most points on this watch device that we got. It's the Misfit, and we just followed the points, and whoever got the most points, right? I ended up running like 8 miles. Excuse me. I ended up running like 8 miles, like 3 times a week.
Yeah.
Then 4 miles, maybe another 3 times, by the time this thing was done, I was sick of fucking running, I was like, fuck this, fuck running. I hate running. But, and I won, right? I ran my ass off, but it was silly, man. I was running and running, and it like we had like 4 people doing, including myself. And then 2 of the other guys kind of fell off, and it was just me and my cousin Danny. And we were like right next to each other. And I had a little bit of a lead, but if he wanted to, at one point, he could have taken it. It was just a matter of like what days the
will to do it. Yeah.
Well, the will and the time, so, but thankfully, it came out in my favor. But it was just like, I was, dude, I hate run.
What's funny is you asked me if I wanted to get in on that, and I was like, no, man, I have no interest in running. And what's funny is it was like at the same time where I was starting to get out on my bike, or I would grab. Well, that's like I bought a kayak. I bought fucking kayaks because it was like I need some reason to get the hell out of this house, and you can't get much more distant socially distant and in the middle of a lake, So I bought kayaks, and like, it was like, I was like, no, I don't want to do this running thing. I hate running. And it was right around the time where like I was starting to go for like these massive, like 20, 30 mile bike rides every day. And at a certain point, it's like, okay, I don't have 3 hours a day. I don't have 3 hours of time a day that I can devote to that,
Yeah.
But I had started losing weight, and it was like, I don't want to fuck this up, And so I started running, right? I started running on my own, not joining your thing.
Yeah.
But like, I started going out, and I mean, I wasn't running 8 miles every other day, but I was running like, I worked my way up to a point where I was running like 2 miles a day. But then that got to a point where it's like, okay, I think I'm actually doing my body more damage than good by, so that I got to a point where I was doing like every other day, but I started running anyway. And I mean, I lost a lot of weight. I've recently started putting it back on because I just got fucking tired. But like, the weather's getting good. So, I mean, I have no excuse to not strap the running shoes on again. But like, that came out of the pandemic. Like, I don't know that I would have started going down that road. I was fat and happy, I'll tell you. And like, if I hadn't have like had a serious, like, my knees should not ever hurt this much, and that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't been trapped in the house and was like, I have a great idea. I'm going to clean the gutters,
3 times a week.
Yeah. Like, damn. But yeah, I think, I mean, that's the good, weird shit that came out of the pandemic for me. The good thing was it got me moving. It got me, because all of a sudden I had time for that, like, I had my job, when things are normal, I travel a lot. And when you travel, you don't have free time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you're bouncing in and out of airports. It takes time to get to and from the airport, wherever you're going. There's the job that you're there to do, which takes all of your time. And then, try to eat healthy. Seriously, try to eat healthy when you're traveling for work. It's not really possible, I mean, it is possible. It's just very, very difficult. And difficult. That becomes a time consuming thing. It's like, I have to find a restaurant that has, reasonable menu options. And it's like, I don't have the time for that. I'm going to go to this restaurant that's across the street from the hotel, and I'll order whatever the hell I can order. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it could be expensive even, depending on where you go, right? Like, trying to find a healthy option.
That's the beauty of having a travel account is, that unless you get really friggin' crazy, you eat whatever you're going to eat, you spend what you're going to spend, and I mean, it's understood, like, don't go crazy. Don't go out to Alinea every night, but like, up to a certain point, it's like, did you spend more than $100 a day? No, then you're fine. Or if you did spend more than $100 a day, who were you paying for? And it's like, my job when I travel is the kind of thing where it's like, if I'm there, I'm always there for supporting other people. So it's kind of like I will buy dinner, and then you just list out who was at the dinner. And, as long as I don't go crazy, as long as I'm not doing stupid things, I don't worry about it. But the big problem is, well, the company's paying for my food. The company's paying for my travel. The company's paying for my time, which means none of the time is really mine.
Yeah.
And like, the hotel almost always has like a workout room, but what? I'm going to go work, I'm going to fly in, leave Chicago at like 5 a.m, get where I'm going, do my job, go through all the social niceties of taking people out to dinner. And then by then it's like 10 o'clock at night. Like, and I'm going to go and run on the treadmill. No, because I have a 6 a.m. flight tomorrow morning. You know what I mean?
That's rough. Yeah.
The thing is, it's not that rough. It's great. Look, I'm making it sound awful, but no, traveling for work is like, it's the kind of thing that I wish I had figured out when I was in my 20s, that traveling for work is what makes working worthwhile.
Really?
Oh, it's awesome. It's awesome because, again, everything I do is on somebody else's dime, and yeah, granted, most of it's not like I'm on vacation, I'm working. But it's like I stay in the hotels that are approved by the company. Guess which hotels the company approves? The nice ones, it's like, it's a good thing. And I get to fly around and I'll tack an extra day on after an event for a vacation day or something and hang out in New York or hang out in LA or Seattle or wherever I am. Traveling for work, and then you get the added bonus of you're racking up the frequent flyer miles and the hotel points and all that. It's the way to do it. It is the way to do it. But that was a big mind bender for me, is because I was literally traveling when the world went on lockdown. I was on a plane.
Jesus Christ!
I was on a plane. From between the point at which I boarded the plane took off and landed in O'Hare, Chicago went from not being on lockdown to being on lockdown.
Holy crap.
So I got off the plane. I literally went from being on the road 3 weeks out of every month to landing at O'Hare, going home and not leaving my house for months,
That's nuts.
And I mean, that was mind warping. I was going insane.
Really?
Yeah. It would, because, well, I've spent way too much time talking about this on other episodes of this podcast, but like, remember, shit happened in this house.
Yeah.
And so being able to travel a lot for work was very helpful. It was therapeutic in a lot of ways because I wasn't here. I wasn't staring at the walls and having to relive things, and then all of a sudden it was like I had no option other than to be here and stare at the walls and relive things.
That's rough.
And it didn't blindside me, right? I knew it was coming. I work in a scientific field. I knew what was coming. I knew this wasn't going to blow over and disappear, you know? And I was still traveling right up until the lockdown, and I didn't really want to be because, it had the air of danger about it. I didn't want to be going through airports and all that. But I also didn't want to be sitting in this house, And so anyway.
So do you think being in the house kind of made you do some processing you needed to do?
I think so. I think it, if nothing else, hammered me into shape and got me to a point where it's like, you can't just put this in a box and file it away and never think about it. Like, trauma happened to you,
Yeah.
You lost. It happened. And like, for anybody who's listening, who hasn't listened to other episodes, go back and dig into the archives of the Flow Roll. There are other episodes where I talk about this at length, but just for context, my partner and I bought a house. We moved into the house. We lived in it for 2 weeks and she died. And that was 2 years ago now.
Yeah.
And, so going into the pandemic, I was still kind of floating through that grief, hiding it, putting it away, putting it in a box, trying to avoid it, trying to it's impossible to not confront it on a daily basis when something like that happens. But, you get to a point where you can file it away and keep living your life. But, I was just avoiding it. So being in the house, being locked in the house and not being able to escape on the job's dime. It absolutely did. It made it to the point where it was just like I had to muscle through it and get to a point where I wasn't just filing it away and hiding it. You have to figure out a way to just kind of live with it, to just kind of let it be part of you. I don't know why. I'm certainly not saying I've solved that riddle, but in a lot of ways, I think going through this pandemic experience I'm probably emotionally healthier than I've ever been in my life at this point.
When did you think you kind of, and I know you're still dealing with it, but like, when do you think maybe you turned a corner? And you think, okay, I think I'm doing better now. Like, when did you kind of arrive?
There was a moment, and this happened, last year after the pandemic started, but it really didn't have much to do with the pandemic. We got to the 1 year anniversary of it. And something happened where it wasn't like, the clouds parted and everything's fine. But that day we started calling it amongst ourselves the last of the firsts. And what we mean by that is this is the last of the first time that we're going to have to go through some major event without her. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, like a birthday
this is the last thing that it's the first time we're experiencing it without her. And somehow, some way, that made it easier because everything that happened after that, the birthdays, the holidays that we experienced, we'd already been through it once, We'd already been run over with it once. And so we already, like we were girded against that pain a little bit.
I see.
You know what I mean? Like the bone had already been broken and it had time to heal. And so it didn't break again.
It didn't hurt as much anymore.
Yeah. So that was one thing. I think we're talking about weird shit that you get up to during pandemic. I'll tell you, here's a weird one. And in case people say Dan never gets vulnerable, here's vulnerability for you. There was it was probably, I'm going to say it was like last October, maybe last September, where I was just in the house. And, one thing I've done a lot more during the pandemic than ever before in my life, I clean a lot because it's something to do, and now that I spend a lot more time in the house than I ever have before, the house needs to be cleaned more often. But so I was cleaning, I was in the bathroom and I opened a drawer that was, it was her drawer in the bathroom and I hadn't gone in there. Yeah. And there was really not much in there, but there was a whole collection of nail polish bottles. So I painted my toenails.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, I don't know what the hell to do with this. I had gotten to a point where I had run out of more things to do. I had done so many things and kept myself so busy and like rolling up to that. Like I was baking bread. I was baking cookies. I was cooking, learning new recipes. I was reading books. I probably read 70, 80 books since the pandemic came around. I had been writing. I was running. I had burned through all of these things. And the reason I was cleaning was basically, I don't know what else to do with myself. Wow. I am going insane and I need something to do. and I found the nail polish, so I painted my toes. and you know what? Here's the wacky thing, dude. It was when I finished. Number one, I did a good job. I did a good job, and number two, it was like, hey, this is kind of cool. Look at that. Look at my toes. Look at them. Look at them. They're there. They're not just. I don't just have feet anymore. Now look at them. They look good. You know.
They're pretty.
Yeah. It was like, hey, I got something to look at now. You know. So that's some weird shit that pandemic makes you do weird shit.
They do. You know. So like the other thing. So like that was all summer for me, and then I got to a point where it got cold, and I didn't have anything else to do. And I have also got to that point where I need to do something. And I have been making over the man cave. So the man cave has a lot more shit in it that I have yet to touch. I put a new you saw some of it. I put a new cage down there, a new weight rack. I put it together.
Not a cage for the kids.
No.
Not like a penalty box, like a weight rack. A
weight rack. And
a weight whack? A weight whack. You put a weight whack in your basement?
Yes, exactly. No, a weight rack. Yeah, I don't know why that happened. Anyway, so and it's been sitting there for like 2 weeks. I haven't been able to get down there to touch it, and it's been more about like putting shit down there than it is about actually using this shit. Although I do have jujitsu mats, and we do roll from time to time, but it doesn't happen as often as I'd like. It just
dude, I've done kind of similar things. Like, I don't know, I have spent a ridiculous amount of money during pandemic, just like buying stuff that's like, maybe this will give me something to do. You know, like I have more guitars than anybody who can't play guitar should have. Mm-hmm. You know, like I have I have 6 guitars now and a ukulele and a mandolin.
You have a ukulele?
I have a ukulele. It looks like a kiwi fruit.
Can you play it?
I can play the theme to Sesame Street. Maybe. It's been like a year since I played it, but anyway, we don't need to take up any more time with that. But like, and like, as far as the guitars go, like I have been learning to play, and like, I am confident enough to say, yes, I understand how the guitar works and I can play things. And there are certain songs that I can play poorly, you know, but like I bought a guitar specifically to take it apart and build it into another guitar. You know, I bought a motorcycle. I have been buying a ridiculous amount of things, and I don't know what the hell I'm going to do with them. You know, the guitars, at least I'm seriously interested in, but it's like the motorcycle. I used to ride motorcycles when I was younger. I had a string of them, and I stopped riding them because people don't see you. Cars don't see you. And like I had enough like I never got into an accident or anything like that, but like I had enough really scary situations where, and just to be very direct, like I am not a speed demon. I'm not like a reckless motorcyclist, you know. I just like riding motorcycles, you know. And I had enough close calls or enough times where it's like people like literally bump me with their rearview mirrors just because they don't know I'm there. They can't see me.
Christ.
You know? And so I stopped riding motorcycles at a point because it was just like somebody's just gonna come and cream me one day.
Dude,
you know?
Dude, one time I I'm sure there's plenty of stories like this, but one of the things that kind of deterred me from ever getting on a bike was I was on the 55 and I was driving, towards downtown. I don't remember where I was going, but I was going down that way. And I saw this guy who had just had an accident. And I don't know if he was alive or dead. He wasn't moving.
Yeah.
But it was crazy to me. Something happened to the bike. I don't know what. It was in pieces. I'm positive it was a bike because I saw pieces of a motorcycle. Yeah. But the bike was not in one piece. You couldn't, aside from the pieces of a bike, you wouldn't be able to discern that it was a bike. And the dude's clothes were shredded all over the expressway, right? And so this guy is laying face down and his back, no clothes on it. Like he was bare from the neck all the way down to his feet.
Yeah.
His ass was showing. Mm-hmm. And he had literally been like sandpapered across the pavement. Mm-hmm. The road rash was so bad on this guy. It was incredible. And I saw him and I'm like, that dude's probably dead, Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know if he's dead or not, but he's probably dead.
Nothing good. Yeah.
Yeah. And so like he had, I don't know if he had a helmet or not. He wasn't wearing one, but I was like, fuck motorcycles. Fuck them. Fuck.
Well,
no.
And so like, luckily I've never had a bad accident on the road. I used to, before I ever rode on the road, I rode off road and I had some pretty awful crashes off road. And you would think that would deter me, but it didn't. So I bought a motorcycle and like I rode it, I think 5 times. And number one, after 15 years of not riding motorcycles, you can't just go and buy a motorcycle and ride it.
Oh,
I don't know what I'm doing. And it's a big motorcycle. I mean, within a week of having it, it fell over twice.
Oh,
and not on me, but it fell over.
That's not nice. And that scratches stuff and all kinds of stuff.
And like, I scared the shit out of myself like 3 or 4 times because it's like, why don't I know what I'm doing anymore? And I don't know what I'm going to do with it now, but it's like, being stuck in the house makes you do crazy, stupid shit. Like go out and buy motorcycles, at least the guitars, I can enjoy those in the house,
Mm-hmm. The guitar thing is so cool, man. I dig that you're like, that you want to like build a guitar out of 2 guitars. That sounds so crazy.
Yeah, it sounds so cool. Crazy, and the end result will probably also sound crazy. But maybe one of these days I might play well enough to justify to be like, yeah, I have these guitars. They're awesome guitars. I hope one day that I sound awesome when I play them. Mm-hmm.
How many guitars do you have?
6.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So wait a minute, and you started playing guitars when the pandemic started, or you already played?
I started before the Christmas before. The boy decided he wanted to play guitar, and I thought it would be kind of cool if we learned together. And so I bought my own guitar, and then I started kind of picking it up a little bit faster than he did. Not on purpose. It's just, happened. And he didn't like that. So he stopped playing.
Dan, you ruin everything.
I ruin everything. I ruined it. And it's like, I wasn't trying to like outplay him or anything. And I didn't even know, like, cause I was just like, we were learning the same song. And then like, I just kind of like picked it up and he was really struggling with it. And I was trying to like help him, like show him like, and he's like, he lost his cool. Like he was just like, I started this before you. Why are you better? And it ruined it. It ruined it for him. I'm bad. And I feel bad about it. But anyway, so I bought myself a guitar to learn guitar with the boy. The boy stopped playing guitar. And so then another guitar like popped up on Craigslist.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of those things where it's like, I was not looking to buy another guitar, but it was one of three things. Either this was like a limited edition guitar, a Fender. They only made like 1,068 of them.
Oh,
right?
That's crazy.
And it popped up on Craigslist. The price was ridiculously low. And so it was one of three things. The guy was desperate and needed money.
Mm-hmm.
The guy didn't know what he had, or it was stolen. One of those three things. Yeah. I don't think it was the third. There's really no way to find out, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it was the third thing. But I was like, well, I'm not going to say no to it, because it's the kind of thing where I could turn around and sell it for more than I bought it for, if that's what I really wanted. But then I had this Fender Telecaster that was like an amazing instrument. It's just a beautiful instrument. It's well made. It sounds awesome. And it was the kind of thing that, you know, and the first guitar that I bought for myself was a nice guitar too. Just very different kind of guitar. It's a Gretsch Electromatic, semi-hollow body guitar, has a completely different sound to it. And frankly, is much harder to play. And so I bought this Telecaster that's easier to play. It's got a nice, real easy neck to play. The body is smaller. It's more comfortable. And that just kind of got me hooked. And it was like, I would find another guitar, and then I'd find another guitar. And then it was, you know, I have a neighbor. My neighbor is a musician, and we talk about playing and stuff like that. And he kind of got me on this kick of, well, you know, you got to mod it. You got to start swapping out the pickups and customizing it. And so, you know, that's how the road goes.
That's interesting. I didn't even know you could do that. But, you know, like, you know, it's what kind of, you know, this is an interesting thing with you and your son, because he needs to know that this kind of thing is going to happen to him, where people are going to progress faster at certain things for whatever reason, whether they have more time, they're just more mature, and they have a better ability to learn, they have whatever the reasons are. It kind of makes me wish that, you know, he would just buckle down and learn it now. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. And I mean, he'll pick it up every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I think it was one of those passing fancies, you know, okay, where he just thought it would be cool. And then it turns out
it's a lot harder.
That it's very hard. Here's the thing about learning guitar. It's not easy. No part of it is easy. No part of it is intuitive. It doesn't make sense. The scale on the guitar it makes no sense compared to other instruments. It's not logical.
Yeah.
And so I don't think he really thought that it was going to be as complicated, or, I mean, it's physically demanding. Like you have to learn how to bend your wrist and your fingers in such a way that makes you think like, should I just have a second wrist installed? You know, that would make life a lot easier. Uh-huh. And I mean, it's painful. It's painful, especially when you first start. And I just don't think he thought any of that was going to be the case. And I don't think he was ever really serious about it. I think he was just like, I think that'd be fun. And then he found out that it's not fun per se. I think the reason I like it is because it's delightfully futile. I am not a very dexterous person. And so like learning the chord shapes and learning how to move up and down the fretboard and learning the dexterity, it's taking me a long time. And there are certain things that I just never get any better at.
Yeah.
And I think some way, some part of that is attractive to me. The idea that I am going to be horrible at this and it's going to be frustrating. For some reason, that's what I want. I don't know why. Again, maybe that's a Polish thing. I'm not sure. But like the futility of it somehow makes me happy.
I think we need to do things like that. I think we need to have things that are hard, things that are challenging, because then at the end of the day, if we get to a point of mastery, we can say, hey, I climbed the mountain. I did the thing. You know, I now have this skill or this thing under my belt.
Yeah.
You know?
And like, I have a couple of friends in my bubble, you know, that I will go and, you know, we'll play together one night a week, you know, and like we're in the bubble, you know what I mean? We're responsible. But like playing alone and versus learning how to play with other people it's a mind fuck.
Really?
It destroys everything. Everything that you think you knew, all of a sudden it's worthless. You sound like crap. You can't figure out how to match your time with other people. You know, your guitar might be in tune with itself, but it's not in tune with everybody else's instruments, and their instruments aren't. And then you also run into, they know how to play the song a certain way. And you know how to play the song a certain way. And those two ways don't talk to each other, you know? And anyway, it's
complicated. It's a lot more complicated than I realized.
Yeah. It's not that easy, and it's a little bit crazy. But I don't know. It's one of those things where all I do with guitar is fail. Like that's it. That's all I do is fail over and over and over and over and over again. And eventually something doesn't fail. You know, I learn how to chord something correctly, or all of a sudden, and it's like things feel like they all of a sudden click. That's not what's happening. What's happening is you're making imperceptible incremental improvements. Right? You do it wrong over and over, just like anything in life. You do it wrong over and over and over and over again. And eventually you do it right. Yeah. And when you do it right, it seems like, what happened? Well, you had to do it wrong a million times, you know?
Yeah.
Something about that appeals to me. At least right now it appeals to me. And I think maybe it's just because I'm trapped and there's nothing else to do. And there aren't really that many options outside of the house. And so maybe having something that you have to just muscle through is a good thing. And my toes look great while I'm doing it.
You know, one of the things that I've just recently did was we went and had sushi at this place. And they have the little igloos, and it was
the little igloos.
Yeah, they put you in this igloo.
Oh yeah, okay. It's like a little room.
Yeah, outside.
Yeah,
which I'm like, whatever. But you know, things are beginning to lighten up, and the COVID exposure rate, all that stuff, all the numbers are down. Everything is looking better.
Yeah. Although in some places now they're starting to rise again.
It's interesting. I didn't know that, but that's great. Like I mean that sarcastically, but anyway, like a week ago, we went and had sushi at this place. They had these outside kind of, you know, see-through plastic barriers. And I sat down and I realized, like, my son got himself some ramen. We didn't realize there was ramen on the menu. He went and got some ramen. And my son said, "Oh, it's been so long since we have ramen." And then I realized, holy shit, this is the first time we're eating at an establishment. We've gone and picked up several times. There's been a few times we've gotten tacos and eaten in the car, which kind of feels like a desperate experience. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, doesn't it?
Yeah. But then, but having the sushi sitting down outside, that was a much more pleasant experience, and it was one of those things that I knew I was going to miss, you know. And when I sat there, I was like, I miss eating at a restaurant.
Yeah.
But then my son said he missed having ramen, and then I realized we haven't had ramen since before the pandemic.
Really?
It's been a year since we had ramen at a place. Good ramen.
Right. Not like, although some of that H Mart ramen is friggin' awesome.
Dude, I've been like, I don't know if it was you who got me started. I think it was, but you started talking about that hot ramen.
Yeah.
And I got some of that hot ramen myself. And there was a good month where I was like having ramen every meal of the goddamn day.
Isn't it? And isn't it amazing?
I love
how quickly ramen makes you fat.
It's not good for you.
It's amazing because you wouldn't. I mean, what do they do to those noodles?
It's all carbs. You know? It's all carbs. It's all carbs.
Like if you look at the nutritional info, it's not just all carbs. Like it's tons of like fat. Like it. What do they do to those noodles?
I don't know.
What are they doing to them? But like those volcano noodles, it's just one. Like there's a whole selection of ramen that's so spicy it makes steam come out of your eyeballs. But like there's those volcano noodles with the 4X and the chicken that's like shooting fire out of its mouth.
That chicken drawing is like my favorite fucking drawing I've ever seen.
Yeah,
on anything. That it makes me crack up because you sent me a picture, and then all of a sudden. It's like I couldn't stop seeing the goddamn chicken. Everywhere I went, I saw the goddamn chicken on fire on that ramen. Yeah. And I'm like, oh shit, there's that chicken with the ramen. But that's not the brand I get. I forget what the name of the brand is, but it's the one with the red and black label.
Yeah. Yeah.
I get that one. That one's delicious.
I got that one last time. And actually over this last weekend, like I had my strategic ramen supply, which, the last time I went out and got ramen, it was pre-pandemic, know, but I have my strategic supply, and that's I pulled that out and I did like a double dose, nice. Like 2 packets of the seasoning. And like, that was fire, man. It was fire.
I love that fucking ramen. I know it's not a big deal. I know it's just like instant noodles, but I love it. I love how it's just got the right flavor. It's perfect. It's got a little sour to it. Sometimes I'll even squeeze a little extra lime in it, put more peppers in it. Like I'll go ahead. It depends on the ramen, but like I've put in some like hot peppers, some chile de árbol in there.
Those are the best.
I love it.
Those go good in everything.
There's that. And speaking of like weird shit that we get into, like during the pandemic, the thing I got into was birria in my ramen.
Oh, I would love some of that. Love some of that.
There is a place supposedly up on Fullerton in Chicago that does that. They do a
birria ramen.
They do a birria ramen, and they give you, I think, a quesadilla or something with the ramen.
Oh wow! Like a noodle taco. Noodle taco?
No. They give you they buy the ramen, right? They have that cup of ramen. They put the birria in there, right? So then the ramen and the birria, they stew together, and then on the side they give you a quesadilla.
Oh, okay.
And sometimes that quesadilla depends on, like, from what I've seen, they put some of the birria meat inside the quesadilla, and they fry it. They fry it in the stew fat, right? So the birria, it's got that birria flavor all coated on the outside of this tortilla on the quesadilla.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Dude. Once the pandemic once things open up, I am going to get so much fatter than I was. It's unavoidable. I'm on a collision course.
we've been on keto since the beginning of the year. So a lot of this ramen stuff I haven't been able to have since we started. But since
I kind of abandoned. I was doing keto and I've kind of abandoned it.
mm-hmm.
It's fucking tiresome, man.
It's difficult to maintain.
It's not just that it's difficult. It's fucking tiresome. At some point, it's just like fucking no. I do not want fucking salmon and vegetables today.
Yeah.
Fuck. I want some peanut butter. God damn it. You know.
Yeah. And then and also
that's the thing that bugs me about it is like, yeah, you go on keto, and especially at first, like once you hit ketosis, the weight starts dropping off and it drops off fast.
Yes.
And then your body catches up and that shit plateaus.
Yes.
Right. And that's your body's way of saying, guess what? You can't cheat your way. You can't cheat your way. Right. You can't do it. And then and even if you do, like you keto your way down to your ideal weight. And then what? You're just going to spend the rest of your life eating this like mathematically prescribed diet that's like having a fucking job.
Well, dude, like first off, here's what I think. To a certain extent, that is not maintainable, right? It has to be a lifestyle that you can actually kind of exist in, like happily, yeah. But also you can't go to a restaurant and be like, well, can you just not give me the rice and take the potato off? Just give me the steak.
Can't live like that. No, I mean, you can live like that for a period of time,
mm-hmm.
but no, like that's a miserable fucking life.
Well, it also makes social events very difficult. I mean, yes. imagine trying to go to a birthday party, or imagine trying to go to a meeting where it's a lunch meeting. Nobody gives a shit about your fucking ketosis. They're going to order sandwiches for everybody, and you're going to be the weirdo eating the fucking ham out of your sandwich.
Right. Yeah. No, it's like you can't, it's fucking silly. Like,
mm-hmm.
so like, yes, it's just like any fucking diet. Yeah. You follow it to a T.
Mm-hmm.
You take on this part-time job of tracking every fucking ounce of food that goes in and doing the math on how many carbs have I eaten today. And you pee on your little strips and am I in ketosis and all of that. And it's going to work.
Yeah.
You're going to lose the weight. And then once you hit your target weight, what, you're going to just go back to living your life like a normal person? No, because if you do that, guess what? You're going to gain weight.
Yeah.
You're going to gain it all back. Maybe not all of it, but you're going to gain weight because you have been playing a fucking game you have been cheating is what you've been doing. You've been playing a game with your body. And now, unless you want to play that game for the rest of your fucking life, you are trapped.
Well, here's the thing. Like, first off, the American diet, or the diet that we say is American, the diet where you're eating hamburgers and hot dogs and fries all the time, that's just not good for you anyway. Like, you can't eat like that. You shouldn't be eating like that.
Right.
That's
yeah.
But also,
you know what else you shouldn't be doing? In all honesty, you shouldn't be eating like 2 avocados a day.
You can't do that either. Yeah.
You shouldn't be, which is like, if you're following the keto diet, like that's perfectly cool.
No, actually avocados has a lot of carbs. They'll knock you out of ketosis. So you can only have like half an avocado.
But I mean, you're supposed to be getting what I'm getting at is you're supposed to be having like more fat than meat.
Yes.
And more fat and meat than carbs.
Yes.
Ultimately, that's the simple version of the keto diet.
Mm-hmm.
More fat than meat, more meat than carbs, right?
Yeah.
And like, there's technically nothing wrong with that, but now you're training your body and you're training yourself to crave fat, right? And then at a certain point, you're going to be like, you know what? I want some rice.
Yeah.
Or do I really have to live, I'm 42. Let's say I probably, on average, I've got another 37 years to live. So let's say I go on. So like if I want to maintain whatever weight I lose going keto, that means for the next 37 years,
Yeah.
I'm going to, I can't eat fucking rice.
Well, see, this is where I follow this. Well, I don't follow him, but yeah, I do follow him. This guy, his name is Thomas DeLauer, right? He's one of these keto experts, right? He's basically one of these guys who's learned by doing, and he's got a lot of kind of anecdotal evidence that sprinkled in with a little science that he's picked up here and there. I don't know how some of this stuff that he says is 100% solid, but even he, who is a big kind of fan, or who's making a living off of ketosis, selling ketosis products and stuff like that. Even he says that you should not be doing keto all the time and doing intermittent fasting all the time, because what you're saying, because what you are saying, and what because I'm going through what you're talking about right now. Like I plateaued. I've actually lost, because I gained 30 pounds.
Yeah.
Before, during the pandemic in the beginning, and now in the last 3 months, I have lost 30 pounds. Yeah. So I am back where I started from in the beginning of the pandemic. I'm back pre-pandemic weight. Now, what I want to do is I want to get down to 200 pounds, which is my goal.
Yeah.
I'm at 245. That's where I kind of live right now, 245. I want to get down to 200 pounds. I got to lose another 45 pounds. But I'm plateaued. I've been 245 pounds for about 2 weeks. But also, I've more than done a few things where I've kind of screwed up. Like there's been a few times where I've knocked myself out of ketosis because I ate too much meat. Eating too much meat caused something called gluconeogenesis or something. And what it does is it basically turns meat into carbs, right? And then once it's carby, then you knock yourself out of ketosis and then you get fat again, right? So there's all that fucking crazy, weird science stuff. And I've done several mistakes like that, things like that's made it difficult for the last few weeks. Also, I've had cheat days and just things in general. Like I've had tacos with my son, and we did media bang bang, which I can't wait to finish editing. But we did all that stuff, and so you're absolutely right. And even this expert, Thomas DeLauer, agrees with you. It is difficult to maintain for various reasons. But he also says that you should be not strict keto all the time. That you should be kind of every now and then having a cheat meal. Not being, not doing intermittent fasting all the time. Like the fluctuation in what you eat and how you eat will eventually, so long as you go back to keto, will knock you off the plateau, right? That has not been true for me, only because I haven't been able to get back to a strict place of ketosis.
Obviously, I'm not talking about this in scientific terms.
Well, and neither am I.
But just from a perspective of a human being.
Yeah.
Right. You're setting yourself up for failure every time. And believe me, as somebody who has gained and lost thousands of pounds in my life, when you set the goal, like you go into it, you're like, I need to lose X amount of pounds. And how am I going to do that? I am going to do this diet, right? And here are the strictures, and I'm going to follow these rules, and I am going to, track everything and go at it like a fiend, right? Mm-hmm. Literally treating it as if you've just taken on another job. That works. It works. You will lose the weight.
Yes.
And then what happens is you get to your target and you say, okay, I'm done. Because you're a human being.
Yes.
Right. You have done the work. You have done the work. You have achieved the goal. Right. And then the next goal is like, okay, now how do I maintain this?
Yes.
The problem with that whole philosophy, that whole setup, that is you're creating a cycle, because now what you're doing is you're training your body to depend on a certain kind of nutrition. And that's why you're losing weight. That in combination with exercise and whatever else you're doing. But then you're getting to a point where, okay, so now that you've hit your target, in order to maintain that, you have to continue doing what you've been doing.
Yes.
You have to continue it. And the problem with that is that what you've been doing is not normal. What you've been doing is not a lifestyle. Okay.
It's not maintainable. You can't maintain it in this world that we live in with the fast food.
It's not sustainable because you have created a whole special circumstance. You've created a whole special universe in which you are operating. And unless you're willing to live in that universe forever, you've built a situation where now you can't maintain it. And it's like, no, what you have to do is figure out how to change your whole kind of lifestyle in general. You have to figure out, okay, I am going to run 4 to 5 days a week. And I'm just going to do it. It's part of who I am now. It's not part of a diet. It's just, this is what I do now. I am going to exercise, whether it's running or doing weights or whatever. I am going to exercise 4 to 5 days a week. I'm just going to do it. It's not a hobby. It's not a diet. It's not I am trying to lose weight. It's this is who you are now. And then the diet perspective of it it can't be like I'm doing a special diet. I'm just going to not eat like a fiend. You know, I'm going, because you have to, in order for it to be sustainable,
it's got to be flexible.
It's got to be flexible, but it can't be like a job. It can't be like I have to track how many calories I'm eating. You have to get to a point where you're not doing that. You're just not eating an incorrect amount or an incorrect combination of goods, right? You have to get to a point where it's just part of who you are, so that it's not work. It's not an assignment. It's not a regime or a schedule or a ritual or anything like that. It's just, this is what I'm going to eat today. And that's an appropriate amount of food, you know?
You're absolutely right. It has to be something that you can manage, right? Because
it has to be something that you don't even think about you doing. It has to be something that's so much part of what you do that literally you're not thinking about it. Because who can do that? Who can spend the rest of their life tracking calories and counting carbs and all of that? Who can do that?
No, well, nobody, right? But you see, the thing is that there is a kind of a re-education that kind of has to start someplace, right? Because there are people, who are eating burgers like all the time, like they were potato chips. You know what I'm saying? Like there are plenty of people.
I'm one of them,
but you don't eat like that. But so like that's not sustainable. Only from a sense that you're going to die, like that's not you personally, but the person who's hypothetically.
And that's exactly the problem. Is nothing about our way of life is sustainable. Like what we've done to get fat in the first place, it's not sustainable because it's going to kill us eventually, right? Eventually, or it's going to kill us, or it's going to make it so that it's excruciating to clean your gutters or, whatever. It's not sustainable. And that it's not like that's gluttony or anything. It's not like a character flaw. It's like that's the world we live in. That's the food that we have access to.
That is exactly it. That is the food that we have access to. But and like I don't want to blame like the person, because you can't blame the people sometimes, right? Sometimes there's a lack of education, like in the terms of like finding what you should eat. There's also just lack of funds. It is very expensive
to eat healthy.
It is very expensive to have keto. You can't, like, if you want to have grass-fed meat from fucking Whole Foods, you know how much grass-fed meat is at fucking Whole Foods? It's like $15 a pound, depending on the cut of meat that you want. $15 a fucking pound.
Right.
That is not sustainable either.
Or like if you want to go really honestly like healthy, super healthy, and you want to go like vegetarian or vegan,
even that's expensive.
That's even more expensive.
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
Yeah.
Like going out and buying strictly plant-based diet, or especially if you're going to go strictly plant-based, you're going to buy organic, you're going to buy like
kale, whatever.
You're going to buy conscientious foods, it's ridiculously expensive.
Yes. And you have to buy more of it to be satisfied.
Yeah. Right. Right.
So,
and that's actually something I'm kind of toying with, because like I don't like the keto, and I went keto because I hit a plateau with my weight loss. I wasn't going keto before.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't even like particularly watching my diet very closely. I was doing exactly kind of what I was alluding to before, which is just like eating consciously, being like, this is an appropriate amount of food, and I lost a lot of weight, just between that and exercising regularly. And then I hit a plateau, and it got really cold enough that I wasn't going out running. It's a pandemic. I'm not going to the gym, And so like I maintained for a good long time, but I wasn't losing any weight. And so I was like, fuck it, I'm going to go keto because maybe and it did. It kicked off some weight loss.
Mm-hmm.
And then I hit a plateau again, and it's just like, it's frustrating when you hit the plateau, and it's like you're sitting there and you're watching what you're eating. So it's like I can tell you, like, I wasn't cheating, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I hit the plateau, and the plateau lasted a long time, not 2 weeks,
Yeah.
And finally it's just like, I got fed up with it. And like, I'm thinking kind of out of boredom right now, more than anything else, back to the topic of weird shit, pandemic makes you do weird shit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking I might try it on for size, going like plant-based, not necessarily vegan, but like plant-based within certain reason, like eggs and milk. I'm going to have eggs and milk. You know why? Because I like eggs and milk.
Well, you need protein.
Well, not eggs in milk, but like I like eggs and milk. I like cheese. I like those things.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm kind of toying with the idea of just going plant-based and seeing how long I can make that work.
Mm-hmm.
Again, probably out of boredom, probably because I'm bouncing off the walls and I'm getting impatient, get my vaccine and get back to life. But also it's something different, and I don't like keto. I just don't like it. I don't enjoy it. It doesn't give me pleasure.
So here's one thing that I've kind of, this is like one of these like phrases people throw around in the gym. And I was just like, whatever, when I heard it the first time. It's basically abs are made in the kitchen, right?
Yeah.
So I was just like, well, it takes more than the kitchen to make abs, right? That's what I thought. So then, the pandemic hits. My wife is baking bread with the kids all the time, and it's delicious, you know? So I'm
Yep.
eating a loaf of bread by myself every fucking day with a shit ton of butter, and I get fat. I gain 70
Because
pounds.
God damn it, bread and butter is good.
It's fucking awesome. And warm, fresh bread, fuck, right? So then I gain I get up to 270, you know, and some change.
Yeah.
And then I do this running thing with my cousins. I'm running, you know, 8 miles every other day, 4 miles every other day. In between that, I'm not dropping any weight. I dropped
Yeah.
5 pounds, but I'm still eating like that, right?
Yeah.
I dropped 5 pounds. That's all I lost in, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 months of running my ass off.
Yeah.
You know,
It's maddening, isn't it? Because it's like you know you're only taking in a certain amount of food,
yeah,
a certain amount of calories every day. You know, because you're paying attention.
and it's not happening.
And you know like I'm running, I'm riding my bike, I'm doing all these things. The weight should just be falling off.
And it's not.
And it doesn't.
And it wasn't until I did keto that I started losing weight. And the other thing about keto is I've been weightlifting here and there, but I am, like I just told you, it has not been very disciplined. I've been, maybe weightlifted since the beginning of the year, maybe about 10 times, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, in those many weeks, I've only lifted, 10 times. So it's not about the weightlifting. It is about the diet. Now,
Yeah,
what I need,
that's something I've heard.
So like what I
many
need to,
people say, it's a lot. What goes into you is a lot more important
than the activity,
than the exercise. Yeah.
Yeah. So like that is one thing that I have taken away from this, because it is mind boggling. I have run more this past summer than I've ever done in my whole fucking life.
Yeah.
You know,
And it should have just been dripping off you.
I should have been a stick.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
And it wasn't happening, and it was infuriating, because part of the problem by the time I stopped running was my joints were saying "fuck you," because I was so heavy.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep.
The weight wasn't coming off, and I kept running in the hopes that the weight was coming off. I was getting faster. I was doing more miles, but the weight was not coming off. And it was all about the shit that I was putting in my body. Now that I'm not even working out and I'm losing weight, the abs are made in the kitchen phrase really, really hits home.
Yeah.
So I know that I'm plateauing right now. It's for several reasons. The things that you're talking about, especially because it's not sustainable. You can't keep eating like that.
Yep.
It's expensive. It's inconvenient. It doesn't allow for flexibility, like for family gatherings, social events, etc. For all those reasons. But there has to be a happy place where once I get to the weight that I want to be, that I can say, okay, today I'm gonna go off script. I'm going to go off the menu, and I'm going to have a whatever. But tomorrow I'm going to get back on it, and I'm going to stay there for the next week or the next 2 weeks or whatever. And I think that's what I'm going to try to get to. I don't know how feasible it is. Like, I don't know if I can pull it off. I'll let you know when I get there.
Like I have a real hard time with this idea that there's any specific kind of diet that is sustainable.
Yeah, no, none of it is.
I have a very hard time with that idea. And it's like, you can't go through your whole life being on quote unquote a diet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at some point you just have to eat, you have to eat what's available, you know, and just make good judgments. Right. But at a certain point, like, it's just too overwhelming to sit there and calculate out every single meal, not just calories, but calories, how much fat, how much protein, how much carbs, am I getting the right mix of vitamins and minerals?
Mhm.
You know, am I getting the things, regardless of carb counts and calorie counts and fat counts and all, like, am I getting enough potassium? Am
Yes.
I getting enough vitamin B? You know, like, at some point you just have to be able to eat. And it
Yes.
doesn't matter, like, it doesn't matter what combination of things you're eating. You just have to be able to eat
Yes.
and not have consternation over it. Just be like, okay, I'm going to eat that. And it's not going to make me fat because I'm not going to eat too much of it,
Yeah. Or if it does make me fat, I'm going to pay for it. I'm going to jump on those.
Right.
I'm going to jump on the trail and run, or I'm going to do whatever and manage my weight after this, but.
And the thing is, that's incredibly hard. It's very easy to say. It's very easy to say that.
Yeah.
But like, the reason that people are fat, it has nothing to do with personal responsibility or accountability. And there's actually a ton of science to back this up.
Mhm.
There's a ton of science out there to show, like, some people are predisposed to be fat.
Yeah.
Okay. It's the way that they're made. And there's also a ton of science out there that says that if you are fat, the chances that you will ever not be fat are very slim.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with, are you a good person, or can you control yourself?
There's no judgment.
It has nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with, this is how your body works.
Mhm.
And I mean, there like, again, there's a ton of science out there on this particular topic,
Mhm.
because society is so preoccupied with this topic.
It is.
There's actually a ton of reputable science out there that demonstrates that's like, A, some people are predisposed to be fat. B, those people who are predisposed to be fat are not likely at all to be able to lose that weight.
Mhm.
Or, yes, they can lose weight, but they will not be able to maintain it. And it has a lot more to do with their own genetic predisposition and the way that their body works.
Mhm.
Has more to do with that than it has to do with anything about self-control or dieting or exercising. There are a lot of people out there who, and I don't know, maybe I'm one of them, who knows?
Mhm.
There are a lot of people out there who, no matter how much they exercise, they're just never going to get down to their ideal weight.
And that,
No matter how much they diet, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah. And that might be me too, but that's not going to stop me from trying,
right. Yeah.
Just like you're saying, like with the guitar, it's difficult. It's very difficult.
Yeah.
Some people will give up because it's not their thing, but you relish the challenge, right? This is my guitar. This is my challenge. This is what's, am I probably going to stay 240? Chances are that's pretty good that I'm going to stay 240, 245. I don't want to be there. I'm going to keep trying.
Yep.
But hey, if it fucking happens, it happens. It's just like, it's no one's going to give me a trophy when I get down to 100 points or 200 pounds. But,
and it's like, man, I would love to get down to 200 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
I have a longer way to go to get there than you do, but I also started from a higher point,
Yeah. And you've made plenty of strides yourself too.
Yeah. I mean, I've made all these strides before. Let's not like I have been down this road before.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough. It's tough.
It is tough.
It is very tough. And I mean, it takes so long, and you hit these plateaus, and you get to a point where it's just like, fuck this.
I've done this enough. Because I mean, you see, here's the thing with me too. Like, I've done this my whole life.
Yeah.
I've dropped weight for wrestling in high school. I've dropped weight for fighting events. I've dropped weight for jiu-jitsu events. I'll drop weight. I've done this plenty of times. I'm losing weight is not I'm familiar with it. I'm familiar with this feeling, the frustration. To me, at this point, it's not. It's not. It's just like, it's part of the process. It's not nearly as frustrating as it might be for some people.
And I think that's one of the only reasons why I was able to sustain the weight loss that I started when I was doing when it was born out of being trapped in the house.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't start it from a standpoint of I have a target weight. I didn't start it from a standpoint of I want to lose X number of pounds.
Mm-hmm.
I started it from a standpoint of my fucking knees hurt.
Yes.
I don't want my knees to hurt anymore.
Yes.
And guess what? Regardless of how much weight I lost or didn't lose, my knees don't hurt anymore.
That's fantastic.
Because I use them.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I lost a lot of weight, but it's also I use them.
You strengthen your legs, you strengthen your body. Mm-hmm.
Right. And so, and I'm going to now, especially now that the weather's nice again, I'm going to continue to use them. I'm going to get on my bike and I'm going to go for runs or at least go for walks. I'm going to continue to do that. And so it's like, yeah, I want to lose more weight. I do have in my mind now a target weight that I want to hit, and that's actually, I feel like a bad thing.
Why is that a bad thing?
I feel like that's a bad thing because now it's like I have something to get frustrated about. Now it's like instead of being like, I run now.
Yeah.
I'm going to go for a run.
Yeah. No.
Now it's tied to, I'm going to go for a run so I can hit that target. And that's a bad thing. It's a bad thing because it's like setting myself up for failure.
Oh, dude. Yeah. I may not get to 200 pounds. I've been trying to get to 200 pounds. I don't know, for the last couple of years. Like I got up to 240 and I haven't been able to get down to 200 pounds. I've gotten close. There's been a couple of times where I went under 2. And this has been
I haven't seen the underside at 200 pounds since I was in high school.
Wow.
Yeah.
You see, the thing is, my problem is not that I can't lose the weight, although right now it kind of is. The problem for me has always been, can I keep it off? And I'll keep it off for a year.
Yeah.
But then slowly, Christmas and Thanksgiving and all that shit fucking hits.
And that's 100% indicative of the problem because I've done the same thing, I'll lose the weight. I'll keep it off for a year, maybe 2, and then it just starts coming back on. It starts coming back on slowly and then it speeds up.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're heavier than you've ever been, and it's because the way that you lose the weight is adopting a whole, it's like you're taking a class, you're bringing in something that is not sustainable and you're reprogramming your life and it's in your head that's like, this is temporary.
Well, there's been a couple of times and I can think about them when the weight started coming back on and it was not, and I'm not knocking myself or talking bad or about myself or anything like that. But there has been a couple of...
I'll talk bad about you.
Well, there's been a couple of points in on the rise back up with gaining the weight where I know what I was eating was out of not only gluttony, but also like it was a weak point. Yeah.
And that's where I am right now.
Yeah, I was,
because I'm doing stuff and eating stuff, and it's just like, why the fuck did you just do that?
And that's what happens. That's what happens to me. It's not that I had like this point of like, well, now I'm just magically fat. No, there was a turning point. I gave up mentally. Yeah. I said I'm going to have 2 Whoppers. This is what happened. I was in my head. I remember there was a specific point. It's not like haunting me or anything, but I know that there was a point that I had 2 Whoppers and fries. I never drink soda, but I had 2 Whoppers, iced tea, and some fries. And I said to myself, this is okay. I'll just eat this. I'll get away with it. But then I'll get back on it. And I don't.
Yep. Every time.
And that happens once. And then after that, it happens again. And then again and again. And then
all of a sudden you're totally screwed.
Yeah.
And then if you're doing something like keto, right? Or if not keto, you're just low carbonate, whatever you're doing some diet that's based on denial, right? You're denying your body something that it needs or wants.
Yes. I'm glad you clarified that. Yes.
Yeah. Like not like mental denial, like you're denying your body carbs, right?
Yes.
Then you go out and you eat something that has bread, or you eat a rice bowl or something like that. And here's what happens. Your body has been denied those carbs for a long enough time that it has shifted your metabolism completely. And then you put those carbs in, and your body doesn't take those carbs in and say, oh, carbs, I can just burn these now. No, your body takes these and your body says, oh my God, I need this. I am immediately going to convert this and store it as fat because I'm not getting enough of this. I'm not getting this. So I need to store it away for when I need it. And so like, if you're going low carb and you're going keto and then you fall off and you just start eating and I mean, I'm not talking about like a cheat day. I'm talking about like you just go off and now you're eating like a regular person. Your body, you're going to gain weight super fast because your body's just taking all those carbs that has been denied. Basically, your body is like in withdrawal from those carbs. And so your body's just going to take those and immediately be like, I'm in starvation mode for this. So I'm going to convert that to fat and store it.
Well, one of the things I'm admitting to is that it's not just eating like a regular person. I wasn't eating
that's my biggest problem. I don't eat like a regular person.
I eat like I regularly do, which is not
normal,
which is not what a normal person would eat.
Right.
A normal person would just have 1 Whopper, 1 order of fries, maybe a Coke.
Like a normal person goes to the steakhouse and orders an 8-ounce steak. I go to the steakhouse and order the 16-ounce prime rib. You know?
Yeah.
Right. Like I don't eat. That's why I'm fat. I'm not
with fries, right?
I'm not fat because of like what I was talking about before, where it's like there are people there. I would even go so far as to say the majority of people who are obese, you know, it's not because of a like self-control problem or something like that. It's a number of other factors. I'm fat because I eat horribly.
Yeah.
That is why I am fat. I am fat because my version of diet is I'm going to eat 2 double cheeseburgers. I'm going to go to McDonald's and order 5 McChickens because I can get 5 McChickens for $5.
Well,
and I'm going to eat all 5 of them. Like that's why I'm fat.
Here, check this out. So like one of the things I was doing even before pandemic and wondering why I'm not losing weight is I was eating 2 sausage McMuffin with eggs
every day,
every other day. But yeah. Those things are like $4, right? $4 for the 2, right?
Yep.
Now, at one point, someone makes a comment, a nasty one, right? This is like, oh, you're eating that, that kind of deal. Like, oh, you fatty, right? And I'm like, well, fuck you. I'm not fat, right? Yeah. Meanwhile, I'm fat, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So, I'm thinking, well, how many calories can this thing have? I go look up at the calories. I should look up just to make sure, but I remember being just
floored.
Yes. I was just like, wait a minute. I'm eating these 2 sandwiches. That's what is in terms of calories. I should look up the calories.
Or it's like you go to Starbucks and you get yourself a latte Or you get yourself during the holidays the eggnog latte,
Ooh.
and it's like a grande latte. You may as well be eating a quarter pounder with cheese,
dude. A latte, like I was having the frappuccinos.
Yeah, right? Dude. I mean, that's
like 1,200 calories.
It's a milkshake,
Yeah.
And you have one of those a day. Guess what? You're gonna get fat.
Yeah, it's
and I mean, again, like that's my problem. That's why I'm fat. And I mean, it's a learned behavior. I mean, I grew like in my family, like eating heartily, eating way too much was always kind of like you get rewarded for that. Like you got to eat a lot so that you get big and strong.
Mm-hmm.
That's my childhood. You got to eat a lot so that you get big and strong, and then you get fat, and but why am I getting fat? I'm doing what you told me to do, anyway, like I don't want to lay blame at like my parents' feet or anything. That's not what I say, but it's like, no, my version of a healthy appetite is totally unhealthy.
Mm-hmm.
Like the number of times in my life where I've sat down and eaten an entire large pizza,
I've done that.
Or like, I mean, and these are just like standard operating procedures. For dinner, I'm going to make myself mac and cheese. I'm going to make the whole box and I'm going to eat the whole box. That's supposed to be for 4 people, right?
Yeah. Like, it's just the other thing too is some of these serving sizes, right? Like they give you a box and they say serving size 4 people, right?
Yeah.
And why don't you fucking make 4 boxes, you motherfuckers? Why you put it all in one box? You assholes. You know we're gonna eat the whole fucking box.
But see, like that's the thing is we should be able to, like, I should be able to make a box of macaroni and cheese and eat a quarter of it and be like, I've had enough, right? Like the whole point is that should be enough to make you feel full.
Well, you see, that's
my problem. I never feel full.
Well, part of the problem too is the nutrition in the food, right? So like there's not a lot of nutrition in the food, so you're not satisfied, right? So therefore you're still hungry, but you just had, 1,200 calories or something.
Right.
The McMuffins, I just looked them up. They're 480 calories each.
Oh man.
480
brutal.
480 calories each. I would have some McMuffins. They're $4. Then I go to like on the way out of work. So that was for breakfast, right? I'm at work. I go to work. Before I get to my desk, I'll stop off at McDonald's, get 2 sausage McMuffin with eggs for $4. For 480 calories each. That's almost 1,000 calories. That's and currently I'm only eating 2,000 calories. So if I was limiting myself in terms of calories, that would be half the calories I would eat in a day.
All day. Yep.
Yes, that's half of my calories already gone before I even started my work day.
Right. Yeah.
Then during work, I would go and get something like a sandwich or whatever, however many calories that is. But then on the way home, I would grab myself a Frappuccino here and there, right? Yeah. So then Frappuccino.
You're eating 5,000 calories a day. You don't even know it,
Don't even realize what I'm doing to myself. And it's not, part of it is not me being weak-minded. Like,
no, it's just not.
It's just me eating. If I had known that, like I do now, I would not be doing
or like soda.
Yeah,
dude. I mean, you drink 3 cans of Coke a day. There's somebody who drinks 3 cans of Coke a day, which is not outlandish. It's not outlandish. There are people out there who drink a lot more than that. Yep. You drink 3 cans of Coke a day. That's 600 calories. 600 calories, and there's nothing in it other than sugar. There's no. It's not like you're getting some of that as protein. No, it's just sugar. Nope. 600 calories.
Yep.
I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah. So that's there's that, but
we have strayed way far, way far off the topic. And I get the sense that both of us could probably continue talking about shitty dieting and fat and trying to lose weight and exercising ad nauseum.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I got to sleep.
Yeah. Sleep is good. You know, if you sleep, you would have a good metabolism and then you could lose some weight. You know,
get your 8 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
You know? Get your 8 hours of sleep and never ever eat an apple. I'll tell you, that's probably the biggest thing that pisses me, that the reason I don't like keto.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily that like, oh, no carbs. It's like, wait a second. So this is a diet and you're telling me it's unhealthy to eat a fucking peach? Fuck you. Fuck you. No, you're telling me fruit is unhealthy? No, I'm not. No, fuck off.
Yeah, you can't.
Fruit is not unhealthy. Fuck off with that.
It's sugar, man. It's
fuck
sugar.
You. No. No, that's fucking stupid. You're telling me fruit is unhealthy. No.
But it's sugar. It's got sugar in it. Sugar makes you. It's bad for you. All right, man.
No.
All right, so yeah, let's do that sleep thing, man. Let's call it a night.
All right, dude. It's fun as always.
Always, man. It's always good to see you, man. And thanks so much for coming on, man. And thanks so much for doing this with me and the long ride that we've had so far. It's fun, man. I really do appreciate it.
It's fun. Man. Let's keep doing it.
Yes, man. Let's keep doing it.
All right, dude.
All right. Well, thanks so much for listening. This is Edgar OtraVez and not my cousin Dan. We will catch you next time. The song you're listening to is titled Read My Mind, and it's by Oi. You can find that over on Epidemic Sound. Make sure to check out the description for my referral link to Epidemic Sound. You sign up or buy something, the show gets a kickback. There you have it, ladies and gents. That's our spiel for today. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did enjoy it, there's plenty more where that came from. You can head on over to theflowrollpodcast.com and you can check out more of our content along with the merchandise in our store. You can get yourself a throw pillow, get yourself a cup, maybe a bathroom curtain, etc. You can help out the podcast by liking, subscribing, commenting, and hitting all the positive buttons that make the podcast gods happy wherever you listen to the podcast. You can check out more of our stuff on Instagram under the name The Flow Roll. All right, that's it for now. Thanks so much for listening. We'll catch you next time. Bye.